This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Okay, so we got Joe Budden breaking down his whole Patreon deal and really just ranting about why he joined Patreon and creators having leverage. Joe Budden said he had no leverage really going into Def Jam, and he didn't want to be stuck in that position again. When he got his leverage in podcasting, first he had a podcast. Complex gave him, he doesn't really mention this here, but Complex gave him a lot of leverage. He had numbers to work with. He had data to work with. He had that with his podcast, but Complex was another level. This was a company that was promoting him, and it was giving him real data, on all platforms, So, and it was really showing him how to market himself on there, and it really just boosted him up. It was a company that was investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars into his brand and their brand, and it only had a year contract. And at the end, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna go do my own thing." Did his own thing for a while, and then Spotify recognized that he kept it up on his own channel, and they gave him a deal again. Utilize Spotify. They probably invested, within their millions of marketing for Spotify. Joe Budden was obviously involved in that, benefited from that, drew a large audience, had data from that, of signups and everything else, just because he was over at Spotify. Left there, didn't redo the contract because he didn't feel like he was getting any enough equity for himself long term. And he wanted to go somewhere where he was appreciated. And when he sat down with Patreon, they seemed to see what he saw. They aligned more. They gave him a position. So he's probably getting a check for just, trying to bring other people over there. Creator equity and economy or something like that. He got some, and he was talking with the CEO. It was more personal with him. The problem is, I don't know if that was the best place for him, but I could be wrong. They're allowing him to be on all other platforms still, so I don't see the downside. I don't know if everybody's getting a guaranteed check or if it's like an exclusive. See, Patreon, YouTube kind of copied what Patreon did in a way. They didn't copy it, but they emulated it a little bit with memberships. And, Patreon used to be an add-on to YouTube, a different way for people to support you. YouTube enabled memberships now. So, there's tiers for different memberships. I don't know what Patreon's future is. I'm sure Joe Budden and his team did their homework and sees a healthy company and a place to grow. And, it's his business, so he has a lot of ideas over there. Now, he went on this big rant about it, and, what he's talking about is important. You do got to know your worth at a certain point, especially, if you are a 21 Savage or somebody like that. You have to, you got to know where you're putting your your mojo at, where you're putting your work at. 21 Savage is putting in work every night on Clubhouse, even though it's fun to him and he's connecting with people and it's a hot thing to do. You're not building they're going to start making it so you can make money on there and everything, but he could team up with something else. I don't know, to bring him somewhere else, but I don't know if that would have worked for 21 Savage. The real thing that got Clubhouse going was the Kevin Hart thing and a bunch of other things, and they seemed very advertising, planned. Joe Budden's on Clubhouse a lot, but I don't know. You got to just know your worth. But here's him talking about that. He makes a lot of good points, and you got to take it all in and really just judge it for yourself. When you're starting out, you can't don't make the mistake a lot of people do. Just when they're starting out, they make demands. No, you have to have leverage, which means you have to have an audience, you have to have a following, you have to be a proven brand before you can start making demands. Okay, just know that. But here, let's get into
right? Like now you're seeing these athletes take their deals in crypto and just being creative with how they take their contracts, right? Like coming in, when I got signed to Def Jam, had I known that Kevin Liles and Leo Cohen would be leaving the company in the next 9 months to 12 months, I may have made some different decisions, right? Like if I'm not so desperate to take an advance, all I'm ever saying at these tables, at these negotiating tables is, hey, just create a path. I'll bet on myself. It's the Kirk Cousins, Washington franchise him for 4 years theory. I bet on myself. You just have to create the path for me to participate. So now if your contract, president of the label, is incentivized by the overall growth of the label, then why isn't mine? I mean, it starts with really simple questions like that change the way things are done throughout the rest of history. It was one man one year that said, yo, Napster is killing shit. We need to participate in more since we do more, 360, all this shit. And you know what happened? That became the standard. Artists have yet to create not one standard. Not one. We looking at De La Soul going through trying to still get paid from one of the greatest albums ever made 30 years ago. We looking at all types of artists fucked up out there, people that created this shit on Sedgwick Avenue. Like, what more needs to happen to say, damn, man, when do the artists get to say what goes on? When do we get to dictate anything? And that day has to be soon cometh. That one. Because that's where you see real change begin to happen. Like, if all the hottest artists from all the hottest regions spoke to each other before they spoke to their attorneys and the other executives and came up with something and said, you know what? Nah, we're not signing. We're not signing unless 0.01% of every contract now just goes to reparations for artists that came before us. That sounds crazy, right? It shouldn't sound so crazy. Bobby Shmurda just did it. Bobby Shmurda just said to his lawyer, yo, nah, no. I'm not going to tell on anybody. I'm going to sit for another 2 years so that my man is all right. It's a real simple concept. Yet we've had trouble doing this since before I was even a thought in my dad's nuts. Why? Thinking. Like, it was tough to find a rapper on every block when I was rapping in 94. By 99, it was a rapper everywhere. That's awesome. It's not just about me no more. This is a craft and you freely give it away. You can't keep it unless you freely give it away. So somebody somewhere could have like an economic boom and we put more money somewhere so we can make different decisions because we're not desperate today. I'm going to always get back to the same point. But it certainly can't be just Joe. It certainly can't be just Jack. It certainly can't be any of you creators out there that feel like you need to take the $50 ad. Who do you shut up for? Who do you trust? That's on you. But once you get where you got to be, and it's the evolution that's happening. Jack talked about a renaissance that's happening. That's where we are right now. And if you can't tell that, then get out of my way. Move. I was laughing 3 seconds ago. Know why? It's silence out there after the me and Jack announcement. Silence to the Anthony Hopkins. Joe loves it. I just went through a whole smear campaign when I started to ask too many questions. Don't tell me about how this should work. I love the silence, nigga. Work is happening. Move if you don't get it. Move if you don't see it. Criticize on your own platforms that you monetize.
because a nigga name is hot. Nigga, go get a buck. I don't hate on nobody. But when it's time for the real work to get done, move and let niggas get it done. I'm out.